Hey everybody, I'm Andres,
I'm Scott.
And I'm Abe.
and this is Between Two Stands, a show that takes a closer look at the personalities that make up the Detroit Symphony Orchestra.
We're really excited today because we are going to go back in time and play a game.
I
How's
miss
about that?
games. I miss
I
games.
know, I miss games too. And this one I've titled Cognitive Dissonance, where composers disagree with each other about each other.
That made sense.
Yeah. Or is it where composers disagree with each other about themselves?
Whatever.
We'll we'll let people decide in the comments.
Yeah.
Uh, so I think what I'm going to do today is I'm going to ask each of you three questions. So I'll just tell you which questions for you. And then if we're tied at the end, I've got a great bonus question, which I'll probably ask you anyway.
Okay.
So,
I'm ready.
uh, all right. So Andres, this one's for you.
Okay.
This composer wrote this about Brahms, and it's a letter to a patron. And he's talking about if he meets Brahms, he would tell him, I consider you to be a very untalented person, full of pretensions but utterly devoid of creative inspiration.
Wow.
I rate you very poorly, and indeed I simply look down upon you.
That's a very actually a nice insult in a way. It's like it's penned very nicely, you know. Like we should insult each other more like that these days.
Right.
Just
It's the most polite
for the record,
insult,
yeah,
yes.
yeah, yeah. I will put you down and okay. Let me think about that. Are we doing any hints? Are we doing any clues?
I can give you one
Yeah,
that
let's
might.
let's do it. Let's do
Right.
a
So,
lifeline.
so this patron is actually a patroness with in which the with which this composer had a very famous relationship with. I don't know if it's famous, but it's notable.
Uh, all right.
That
I'm.
was a
it
good
really?
Oh,
music.
nice,
Yeah,
nice.
wasn't that nice? Good music pun.
All right.
I'm in dad mode right now.
I'm just gonna guess. I'm just gonna guess. Uh, oh God. Sanson?
Wait, is it Clara Schumann?
No. Oh,
Oh,
Who
Clara
is it?
Schumann. She loved him. What are you talking about?
well,
Yeah.
you said a relationship. I was hoping that like she was like mad at
Who
him
is
or
it? Who
Oh,
is
something.
it?
you mean well, so it's a separate composer talking about Brahms, right?
Oh,
Right.
okay, okay.
Right.
So who was it?
So it was Tchaikovsky.
It was Tchaikovsky. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And there are some very in my research for this game, there are some very interesting uh, anecdotes. One of which was that Brahms fell asleep at one of the premieres for Tchaik 5.
Ooh. So he was a little bitter about that.
Yeah. And then I think Tchaikovsky heard Brahms read some of his own chamber music with um, at a party or something, and Tchaikovsky really didn't like Brahms's chamber music, so I think they were even in the
So
end.
so
Although they
it's
did admire each other, I think
it
at the
sounds
end.
like Brahms didn't really care and Tchaikovsky cared a lot. That's what I'm getting.
Possibly. I also so Scott, this is
Yeah.
also for you. This next
Okay.
question. Brahms apparently fell asleep at the premiere of what composer's sonata in B flat?
Brahms was just napping through all these concerts.
He was a sleepy guy. He
So it's
wasn't
okay to
busting through
sleep.
walls.
It's
He
okay to
wasn't
sleep through
doing the
concerts.
raisin Brahms. Like this is not him.
Raisin Brahms.
Yeah. So
um,
it's okay to sleep through concerts sometimes, ladies and gentlemen.
ooh, I feel like you gave me a big clue with Sonata in B flat. List?
Yes.
Wow.
Very nice.
Nice.
Yes.
Very nice.
Wow.
I
Nice
don't I
job.
don't have any other stories besides that for that one. But that's pretty telling about what Brahms thought.
Well, that's funny because usually in the portraits of Liszt, you see him like at the piano, and all the women of the audience are like rushing the stage, sort of like he was the Beatles of the day or whatever.
Except for Brahms. Brahms was napping in the corner.
Yeah, they didn't draw Brahms napping.
Yeah. All right, Scott, you're up one.
Okay. So this composer said this of Messiaen, Andres.
Uh-oh.
And the quote is, "All you need to write like him is a large bottle of ink."
That's pretty good. So like, I don't know, Stravinsky?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Nice!
It would have to be
Nice!
Yeah.
Awesome.
That was
Awesome.
great.
I feel
Uh,
like he's had a lot of quotes that are pretty like eloquent digs.
yes, yes, yeah.
Yes. Okay. So speaking of Stravinsky, Scott,
Oh, good.
this composer wrote this about an argument with another composer. With Stravinsky. This composer. That's wrote this about a feud with Stravinsky.
Oh,
Ready? Okay, got it. Clarified in my mind. We almost came to blows and were separated only with difficulty.
oh man. Schoenberg?
No.
Can you say the
Uh,
quote one more time?
Sure. We almost came to blows and were separated only with difficulty.
Prokofiev?
Yes.
Nice.
Let's go!
So that was the result of an argument about, I think, the Love the Three Oranges.
Oh,
Oh,
wow. Wait, can we just figure out who would have won that fight? That would have been a funny fight to watch. And I would probably put my money on Prokofiev for some reason.
yeah, me too. Stravinsky wasn't a large
He
man.
was a little frail. He was a little frail looking. I mean, he's a
Right.
badass, but he's a little frail. But I wish I was at the bar then. That would have been funny to
I
watch.
think a quote that he also was known for saying was that he should have been named Strawisky because he really liked his drink.
Ah.
So
Nice.
he might not have been well, but maybe that's an advantage in the fight. You
Yeah.
don't feel blows.
Right.
Speaking of Stravinsky, Scott.
Oh wait, so is this one to me, or did that point go to Andres because he got it right?
Oh, that's
or
right.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
this
yeah,
is
yeah.
now-
Yeah, I
So
did.
this is Andres. It's 2-1, right? And this now goes back to Andres, right? Because
Yeah.
that was your
Right.
question. Okay. One of the interesting things about this game, and maybe it's just because I'm need to brush up on my music history a little bit, is that it kind of reminds me of the fact that some composers were living at the same time, even though they wrote such different music that it might appear that it might sound like they don't.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So speaking of,
Also, what's interesting about this game is we're making the rules up as we go along.
hey,
Wait, before we go on, I just want to say one more weird thing about I thought about Prokofiev and Stravinsky and chose against it because of the Soviet Union, because Stravinsky fled and Prokofiev was still in the Soviet Union. So I was having trouble thinking about when they would be in the same place at the same time. Yeah,
yeah.
You outsmarted yourself.
I know. This happens all the time. Okay.
Okay, so this one is a Mendelssohn quote about a composer.
Okay. So we're going
And the
back a
quote
bit.
is, "A regular freak without a vestige of talent."
Regular freak without a vestige of talent.
I can give you
assuming
another
we're
one.
talking about music here. Yeah, sure.
I can give you another one about the same composer
Okay.
from Mendelssohn. And this is specifically about his music as opposed to him as a person.
Okay.
And that is indifferent drivel, mere grunting, shouting, and screaming back and forth.
Okay. So I'm guessing he's talking about opera or something. So this person wrote opera. Let me think here. I'm just gonna throw out a composer I don't like, so maybe it'll be right Handel.
No.
Okay, okay.
Scott, do you have a guess?
Well, when you said the grunting, it made me think a different thing than my original guess. I'm gonna go with my first thought though. Berlioz.
Yes.
Oh, nice, nice. You
Yeah.
stole
That
that.
was that was quite the quote.
Yeah,
That's pretty good.
Yes.
that's a little harsh. That's pretty harsh.
I love it. I love it with it. But
Yeah,
also, like Mendelssohn wrote such different music from
yeah, that's
Berlioz. Like
true. That's true.
it's
Right. Well, that's what I was saying. I was like, you know, I know when they lived, but then it's like, wait a second, that was the same time because they wrote such different music, right?
well, and yeah, and a lot of times you think about like, well, what country is this person from, and where did they live, and how aware of each other were they? But they must
Exactly.
have been, and they obviously were,
Yeah,
which
Right.
is pretty fun.
yeah.
Right.
Those are good insults, though. I like that.
Yeah, those are good ones. Okay, so I think this one goes to Scott,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Okay, I'm
Yeah.
already lost track. All I know is it's tied right now.
yeah.
Yes, of
This
course.
ends up being a
Okay,
good
so
game.
this one is about Liszt. And I won't give you any other hints. Okay.
Great.
That is just meaningless noise, not a single healthy idea anymore. Everything confused. A clear harmonic progression is not to be found here any longer.
That's amazing. Uh, well, it's so funny because you think about Liszt's music now, and it's like it's loved that,
Right.
but I'm gonna say Wagner.
No, it's actually Clara Schumann.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
You know, I can see that, especially with with Brahms falling asleep, and I can see her
Right.
picking sides.
Yeah. I'm really loving this image of Brahms asleep at all the concerts he's going to. It's a
But
very lovable image.
And
it's
you
like
have
he
to,
didn't even write a bad
And,
review.
and,
He's
and,
just
and yeah,
asleep.
and his beard is like pointed out because he's just like
right. Do you think he was like a mouth open snorer?
yes,
Like that's that.
definitely. Oh,
Okay.
definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Or do you think it's
He
like
wasn't
like
really
a head
asleep.
down?
yeah. Drooly, snory Brahms. Um,
Okay.
all right. Give me one.
So
Last round.
I'm trying to make sure that okay. So this is about Mahler.
About
Okay.
okay,
About Mahler.
okay.
A very tolerable imitation of a composer.
Okay. Um, any all right. Any tolerable imitation of a composer. Any clue as to where? No, it's all good. It's all good. Tolerable imitation to a composer. Ah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
They're not from the same country.
Not from the same country. Okay. Okay. Um, I'll say. Um, man, I don't know. I'm just gonna throw one out. Shostakovich.
No. Scott, do you have a guess, or should I just
I'm
since I
gonna
didn't
say
give Andres your last one, so I might have to just take this one
okay.
away from
Well,
you.
just go for it. That's
Okay,
fine.
so this one was Von Williams.
Oh,
Oh,
oh
that's
God.
funny.
Yeah, that is funny.
It is funny.
What does he know?
I mean, I don't know why it's funny. Von Williams is terrific.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
You won't find me asleep at any of his pieces.
Yeah. But Brahms will be asleep. Um,
Speaking of Von Williams,
Oh, excellent.
who said this about his Fifth Symphony? Listening to the Fifth Symphony of Ralph Vaughan Williams is like staring at a cow for 45 minutes.
That is great. Man, I got to use some of these.
Oh. I mean, I could see Mahler saying that I could see that. I'm gonna say Mahler.
Close. But
Close.
Close.
Well, it's not really that close. It's not really that close. Andres, do you have a guess on this one?
It's close, as in it was the wrong person.
Right.
No, but I feel like a lot of people could say it. Well, who is it?
Copeland.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
That's
cow
a really good one. I like that.
Yeah.
All right, dude. It's 2-2, man. Give us a tiebreaker, and maybe we'll just end
Okay.
up tying because we're not great at this.
Well, some of these are pretty tricky.
Yeah,
but
it's hard.
This is my favorite one because it's actually two composers talking about another.
Oh,
Ooh,
excellent.
gossip.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the question is, do you guys want to try and pick the two composers, or do you want to try and pick who they're talking about?
I want to pick who they're talking
Yeah, let's talk about who they're talking about.
Okay. So that makes it easy. So this is Shostakovich in Britain
Okay.
speaking about which composer.
Okay.
What do you think of blank? His operas are dreadful, Britain admitted. And then Shostakovich replied, "No, Ben, you're wrong. He wrote marvelous operas, but dreadful music."
Okay. Is it a contemporary? Can you tell us that? Or is it someone in the past?
I mean, it contemporary to them?
To them, yeah. No, to us. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so to them, all right.
Richard Strauss?
No.
Man. All right, I'm just gonna throw one out there.
I mean, so it's not really contemporary to them.
Okay.
Maybe?
He
I
had
guess I have to look.
He had to look it up.
Look it up. Look it up. I think my dates might be a little wrong.
I don't know. I have no idea. Who is it?
So they're talking about Puccini.
Oh. Really?
Yeah.
That's amazing. His operas are terrible.
What? Yeah, that just throws me off because I'm thinking about like operas. I don't know. That's funny. Wow.
Well, that's what I was thinking too, because it's like the operas are not terrible.
They're not terrible.
And neither
They're
is the music.
They're like regarded as the best. Yeah.
Wow. They're regarded as some of the best operas.
Yeah.
But I guess maybe not at the time.
I mean, I'm trying to think. Shostakovich operas, like The Nose, that's pretty out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we tied.
Britain could write a good opera, though.
Yeah.
We
true.
did. We tied.
We tied.
Well,
that's how it's supposed
that's
to
not
be.
very satisfying.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we all learned something. We learned that Brahms was a good sleeper. Well, Abe, thanks for hosting that. Before we get to our interview with Stephen Molina, we will throw it to Larry with the joke of the week.
I always wondered what my parents did to fight boredom before the internet. You know, I asked my 18 brothers and sisters, and they didn't know either.
Welcome, Stephen.
Yeah, here he is. Thanks for being here.
Good to see you guys. Really glad to be here.
So we have like some standard questions that we'll start these interviews with, and the first one is, what is on your stand right now?
Well, as you know, we don't play every week anymore due to the pandemic. So
okay to say
what
nothing.
I've been doing a lot of is etudes. I have, taken out a lot of etude books, revisited them, taken out etude books that I have not ever played, and begun working on them. And so mostly I spend the bulk of my time just working on technique. And so I have a lot of nanny method books and some Rabath stuff and some old time Storch Robbie and Bottesini method books. And so I use that, really to try to keep myself in shape and work on details that normally you don't have a lot of time to work on, but now I have so much time, it really makes it a lot of fun. And it's like going back to college in a lot of ways, where you used to spend 5-6 hours a day practicing. Certainly I can't do that anymore. But that kind of detail and to have that opportunity is really, I find it a lot of fun.
Just out of curiosity, because I don't know if this is the same for the different instruments. On horn, when our etude books, we kind of have a few different types. One is very strict, technique driven, not melodic playing at all, and then some others are really designed to be more musical. And are these sort of both of that? Is it kind of the same where you have the different versions, or is it more one or the other?
I don't know. Does a bass ever play melody?
What is melody?
So anyway, I think most bass etudes are not the kind of things you'll ever perform for anyone. So there are some lines in them, of course, phrases, directions, shapes, whatever. So I think there are different ones, and some certainly you could say, oh, that's kind of nice. Others you go, okay, I got through that. Let's turn the page.
Yeah.
But the kind of thing that I really have enjoyed lately is just being able to, put the metronome on ridiculously slow tempos and challenge myself in a variety of ways to maintain, bow speed, sound, and then of course, to have the tuner in front of you and try to really measure your shifts and make certain, that you're not creating too many bad habits and getting stuck in bad habits and trying to, repair things. So I just find that to be a lot of fun and nice way to occupy all this time, especially when it got cold. And when weather's nice, I'm outside and go for a bike ride for a few hours. But with the weather being so cold, you really have to do something.
Oh, 9 degrees again? Long tones. 2 hours.
we're almost back to some warm weather again. You can feel it in the air,
Yeah, I might even get the bicycle out tomorrow.
Awesome, yeah.
50-degree
day.
Is that something that drew you to bass in general? Like at first you liked the power, the way it supports the rest of the group?
Well, I wish I could say yes, but I think maybe that's what made me stick with it. But in the beginning, it was elementary school. I was 10 years old, 4th grade, and in 3rd grade we all played flutophones, plastic recorders. And those of us that enjoy that, we in the next year get to choose an instrument. And I really had no idea. I had grown up playing accordion, and so I was, I had fun with the accordion. I liked that good old Italian family.
Yeah.
Fun to play, and but I didn't really have a lot of exposure to classical music. So when my teacher said, "Why don't you try the bass?" I said, fine. And I was fortunate to be in a school system on Long Island where the teacher was a Juilliard grad, and his best friend was a Juilliard grad, a member of the Metropolitan Opera.
Cool.
So My school teacher's name was Alan Arnold, and my bass teacher, Marvin Topolsky. Great guys, and really, I think were critical for me. I mean, can you imagine a member of the Metropolitan Opera who came to my house to give me lessons?
Oh
I mean,
man,
you know,
that's amazing.
amazing, right?
Yeah.
And so here I was, a little boy. So and at the time when I started playing the bass, I was very active. I actually was quite chubby as a little boy. It wasn't until things changed. I guess I was 12, 13, where my body just started to grow a little bit more. Still not a lot, but a little bit more. But I was always athletic and always loved sports and everything. And he knew that. And I think the instrument is, requires a little bit of physicality. And you can give more to it or less to it as you see fit. But I've enjoyed that part of the instrument. And then, of course, the sound of the bass is phenomenal. I think you have to love being a supportive player in the orchestra, which I do.
I would say all you guys are pretty supportive over there. By the way, you guys are all supportive people too. So
and we have fun on our side of the stage.
Yeah.
You do.
It's I think also I've always enjoyed the opportunity to be on the back side of the stage or one side of the stage where you actually have a view of everything that goes on. And I've enjoyed that. I've enjoyed the contact with my colleagues ever since I can remember. I can remember way back when in youth orchestra on Long Island where we would do goofy things. Here we were a bunch of kids, right? And goofy things and.
But not anymore, I'm sure. Never anymore. Never anymore.
Yeah, we have to be a little more civilized.
As fellow members of sort of the back row, I think Andres and I can really appreciate what you're saying.
Yeah,
it's nice to have the view.
I think we know what you're talking about.
I don't. What do you guys mean?
Yeah, Abe doesn't. So,
Stephen, the most important question I think we're going to ask you today is, do you still have an accordion? And if so, do you practice?
I can honestly say I do not have an accordion right now.
Okay.
And I haven't touched the instrument, 30 years.
Okay.
We got to bring that back.
There was a time, our former tuba player, Wes Jacobs, he also played accordion. And so we always talked about, getting a little accordion band together. It never happened, but we talked about it for a long time.
So
is the accordion band the same as a bagpipe ensemble? Is that like or is it like the recorder ensemble?
I think we can just a contrast.
Okay. Okay, I'll stop being serious now.
No, and you mentioned the accordion. Another thing that I found ironically funny when I went to college and studied with Barry Green, he also played accordion as a kid. So it's really kind of funny. I mean,
so you come from a long tradition of accordion bass players. Right.
So Stephen, you mentioned bass is pretty physical. I wanted to jump around and ask you about your outside interests, which include like cycling and tennis, and maybe you could just say what how long you've been doing that, and if they affect your playing at all with bass, or if it's just like an outlet for you.
I use it as an outlet. I use it to stay in shape. I have dear friends that I love to go biking with, so that's a really nice thing. I also have wonderful friends to play tennis with, so I enjoy that quite a bit. And the just the idea of staying in some sort of decent shape has always been important to me. And as a kid growing up, I played sports. Um, uh, and all through, college, intramural, I played intramural football in college. Here I was this little guy, but, I played defensive back. I was fast. And, I enjoyed it. So that kind of stuff. I also, I think, grew up in an area of competition. I have an older brother, and we would love to play sports. When we were on opposite teams, we'd often get into brawls.
Yeah.
But it was just a part of growing up. There wasn't planned activity. You go get out, you choose up sides, and you have a game, whatever it might be.
Right.
So I just always enjoyed that kind of physical energy and exercise. My wife thinks I'm nuts because I love to sweat. I think that's a great thing.
Yeah,
I think
it
it's
is
a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
I just enjoy doing it, and I include yoga in helping to stay in shape. And I think, also when I was personnel manager, I always saw players that had problems physically, injuries, recurring injuries. And so you would try to educate them as to things that they could do, just routinely to help themselves. One of the things we all know, the stuff we do as musicians is asymmetrical. So one side of your body can get a hell of a lot stronger than another. And if you're not careful, it throws everything out of whack. And so things like that, I think, are really critical and important to do for yourself to try to stay in shape.
And posture, I noticed, like all of us kind of have like a posture, that gets very, everyone sits up straight now. But but it's like, it's like you said, it's an asymmetrical posture, so you're constantly having to overcompensate. So I'm feeling that now too, just like my back is always messed up, and I can't imagine, like, actually, Horn, you're pretty upright there, but I don't know.
I'm upright, but it is not symmetrical because you have one arm that's back here in the bell, and then the other one's forward, so you're kind of twisted the entire time you're playing. You really have to be careful. Like it's a real thing.
Well, we should all do yoga together. So Stephen, so you're a personnel manager, which. Well, how would, if you could describe that in a sentence, first of all, how would you describe that job?
Herding cats.
No. No, the only time you had to herd the crowd was on big tours, but that was also a lot of fun. I always put myself as sort of like the tail gunner, a guy in the rear that's just going to make sure everybody gets on the plane, or whatever.
Yeah.
But I really enjoyed those years, and so it's been now 5 full seasons that I haven't been doing it. And honestly, in the beginning, after stopping, I missed it desperately. There are a lot of things I missed about it, but it's been really good for me. I think the timing was right to put it aside, but I really enjoyed my job as personnel manager, and before that associate, and then before that assistant. I think having all those decades of work really helped me appreciate what went on in the lives of my colleagues, what went on in the staff side of things. I really enjoyed the opportunity to express myself to the staff, where I felt, and it's very different than now. Like now there's a wonderful collaboration. There's a lot more interest in getting to know each other on stage with respect to the staff and the board. That didn't really go on decades ago. It really was separate.
It reminds me of like an hourglass, like the musicians maybe are here, the staff is up here, and you're like right in the center. You're kind of like you're kind of like the liaison between the two halves. I feel like, and it seems like now more that that connection is more open, but it definitely seemed like back in the day that you were the liaison kind of between musician and staff.
That did exist, at times quite a bit. I wouldn't say that there's that little tiny funnel there, but I think there was also a reluctance on the part of a lot of people to simply avoid making contact, and I think what sadly happened is that a lot of the stuff was kept to themselves until things got difficult.
Yeah.
And so there was trouble, as misunderstandings. So I always felt, in a way, blessed to be able to help bridge those gaps, to help create some solutions, some of which I thought were really good. I still think were really good. Others that I wish I could do over again. But it was always a process, and it was always I felt oftentimes like the grease that kept the wheels turning. And so I really enjoyed that. I enjoyed working with different conductors, music directors, that sort of thing. Some you had a lot of contact with, others very little, nothing much more maybe than just hello, how's your day going? Do you have a good night? That kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, Stephen, what was your relationship like with musicians before you became personnel manager, and then again after? I mean, do you feel like that there was a change there, or?
I think initially. So I joined the orchestra. I was 23, 24 years old, and then it was about 6 years later that I was asked to be the assistant personnel manager, and right after I joined the orchestra, I got involved with all the different committees on the orchestra, string committee, audition committees, changing policies of how we run auditions, getting the auditions to be all behind a screen, that sort of thing. I really worked on, and I loved doing that. I thought it was important. I was on the orchestra committee. I was chairman of the orchestra committee. And then the contract changed, so where there were more detail elements that needed routine attention. So the personnel manager who had an assistant, like when they went on tours kind of thing, that it wasn't even part-time. It was like, can you help us on this tour, kind of thing.
Right.
So what I was asked to do was actually to help maintain records and plans to use the new elements in the contract and see that they worked for everybody. And so that's basically how it all began. And this would have been, I think, 1983.
Okay.
And then, it just, at that point, it was really interesting because I had very little to do in terms of supervising my colleagues in any way. But I had a lot to do with managing what they would do in terms of scheduling, what they would do in terms of time off, that kind of thing. And so I made these plans, and then I always collaborated with my colleagues to produce side letters, how we're going to make it work. And that I always felt really good about. Never having to dictate something, but getting people together to make a plan and make it work. So everybody knew how I was using the tools. I think some of the members of the orchestra said, okay, he's management, leave him alone. Don't go near him anymore, that kind of thing. But, I had a lot of friends in the orchestra. And I really felt, again, I use the word blessed, maybe too much, but I really feel that I was blessed because when I joined the orchestra, there were so many members of the orchestra, 10, 20, 30 years older than me, who just really supported me, just welcomed me. And that was really kind of nice. And I always felt that I was in a place that was really good for me. And I felt honored by them. So I think then, after a little bit more time went on and the role of personnel manager became a little more complex, we got a new executive director, Deborah Border. She upped my role in a substantial way, and things became a little more supervisory. And I still felt, though, that while I had to reduce the time I could give to my friends in the orchestra, that was probably the negative side of things. I just didn't have that much time anymore. Mm-hmm. My dear friends were still my dear friends, and I enjoyed getting to know the rest of my colleagues and the new colleagues that would join in. So I would say that for me it wasn't so bad. I think for maybe a handful of individuals, they didn't like it, the idea that I went and joined. In fact, I can recall, because I was on the orchestra committee just before I was asked to be the assistant personnel manager, the attorney for the DSO musicians, we were walking, here we were talking earlier about walking downtown, and there were a lot of businesses and offices in downtown. It was vibrant in a lot of ways. We actually just bumped into each other on the street, and she said to me, "Stephen, I just heard you switched sides."
Oh man, yeah, it's very black and white.
She's a great woman, a wonderful, smart attorney, and of course she was joking, but I had a nice rapport with the people that I worked with. Yeah.
You've talked so much about this like institutional knowledge that you have for your different roles in the organization and all of that. But can you fill in some other spots? Like when did you join the orchestra? And you were showing us a picture before we started. And it sort of combines the love of your colleagues and what you do and your love of like sort of getting outside and athleticism. Can you just tell us a little bit about that?
Well, I joined the orchestra in the fall of '76, and it was I think a really good time. The DSO was in a pretty good space. You saw increases in the contract for the players. You saw growth in the conductors and soloists that were coming to Detroit. And, Detroit had a great legacy, and it was continuing in many, many ways. And then shortly thereafter, Antal Dorati became music director, and it was a huge time. We took our first European tour, 5-week tour. Who goes on a 5-week tour?
Wow. Let's do that again.
Tour. Yeah, I'd love to do it. I love tours. You guys know that.
Yeah.
So
me too.
Yeah. So it was just a big challenge, but it was also an amazing time. Think about when a sports team goes and has a championship run, and after winning the finals on the road, comes home and people greet you at the airport. People greet you, back in your stadium, that kind of thing. So that's how it was for us on this first European tour. The send-off was unbelievable, and the tour itself was full of great highlights. And then when we returned, truly there were 1,000 people at the airport just to welcome us back. It was incredible. It really was something else. So you really felt like you were part of a team, a wonderful team, a lot of different parts to this team, all pulling together to make this incredible effort with, a wonderful old world music director in Anto Alderati. So it's and also when you go on a trip like that, we'll take a little 1 week tour. So my first tour with the orchestra was with the DSO was in the spring of 1977, it must have been. Anyway, it was down the East Coast. That was 2-week tour, and that was really also very special. We started in Hartford, Connecticut, and wound up in Florida.
Oh, cool. That's awesome.
And when you're with your musicians, your colleagues, for that length of time, you get to know a lot about them, the pluses, the minuses, things you didn't know, things you never want to know.
The minuses. No, I'm just kidding.
But then, then you're on a tour for 5 weeks in Europe, and you're taking train trips of several hours. You're in hotels. You get there, and maybe you have the day off, and stuff like that. So you're really getting to do things with your colleagues, and you're really forming cohesion that happens in a way that you just don't get routinely. It just is different.
Yeah.
Not that it doesn't occur, in the normal order of things, but when you're on a trip like that, playing similar programming, different halls, different crowds.
And sometimes people act differently when they're away from their families.
I know what you mean. It's really nice to sort of share what we have as our team. It sort of goes back to that for me. I see that as a tradition that continues at the DSO, with how many people have sort of shared what they know so openly with me as one of the newer members, and then how we can then share that as a unified thing with audiences wherever we are. And then when you're in those different spaces, that's really really special.
You were talking about this photo. I'll just hold it up now. Maybe people can see it, and we'll get it out there. So this is a picture of some of us playing softball.
Oh, I wouldn't mess with that team. That team looks like.
And this was I was probably 30 or 31 when that picture was taken. And my 2 kids in the corner there, two of the 3 children. And, that kind of thing was so enjoyable. And it was just very routine to have gatherings. We would get together and have picnics. The concert schedule was different. We had 2 months out at Meadowbrook. So we had rehearsals and concerts, and so in between we would get together and do things. So it was a lot of summer activity that only goes on today in a small way. So, but there was a lot of spirit towards getting outside and doing stuff. Whether it be softball, bicycle, whatever. Yeah, tennis, a lot of tennis.
So
Let's
Steven,
bring it back.
Your kids are kind of superstars here. We wanted to kind of end the interview with you talking about your kids. Your son is in an opera company in Spain, and your daughter is an actress on Broadway. So tell us about them, and maybe during these very unprecedented times, how can what have they been doing, and how can they what's been going on? What have their lives been like?
So my son David is also a bass player. He plays in the opera orchestra in Valencia, and he plays in the Palau, which is the architecture of Calatrava, all that new, exciting, almost sci-fi architecture. And if you see pictures of Valencia, you'll definitely see pictures of this City of Arts and Sciences, it's called. Anyway, he's been there now for about maybe a dozen years, maybe even a little more. And he joined the orchestra from the outset. played for Mazel in New York, who was beginning to create the group, and won a job. And he and his wife went over to Spain, and now he has family. I have 2 grandchildren. So the pandemic for them, it's been rough, but they've done things a little bit differently in Valencia. Lockdowns are serious. Mask wearing is serious. And lockdowns for them are you cannot go out of your neighborhood village. So you can go to the grocery store in your town. You're not going to go elsewhere.
Okay.
You can't drive elsewhere. So when they have a lockdown, and they had initially, I think it was a whole month or 6 weeks total lockdown. And I think that helped. Certainly in some parts of Spain, it wasn't taken as seriously. And there were some conflicts, Madrid region, Barcelona. But in Valencia, much better. And the rate of cases and deaths certainly significantly less than the rest of those other big cities in Spain. But they're doing fine. They're doing fine. They're working. They have audiences, and they're doing well. I've enjoyed going over there to see the operas there. It's nice.
Terrible place to visit.
Yeah, I was going to say that must be really tough, you know.
But honestly, I haven't been able to go back since December of 2019. So it's been 14, 15 months. And see, my daughter Lauren, she left Michigan, went to New York, and got a really plum job playing in Sweeney Todd. She played Joanna in Sweeney Todd, and John Doyle production. It was really a huge hit. The superstars were Patti LuPone and Michael Severus, and it was just a great opportunity for her. And then following that right away, she got a role in Rock of Ages when they opened, the first time on Broadway. And so she got 2 really nice jobs, nice roles. And then she's been doing a lot of work off stage, touring, typical, actress kind of thing, where you take the work when it comes, and some of it is really exciting and really, really good. Other is just, effort. And lately she's been doing a lot of things for children. And the most recent thing is that she's in a role in, I believe it's going to be a virtually produced production. And it will probably come out in the next few months of a musical called Brooklyn.
Okay.
And so it has a short run in New York, but they feel that with some revisions, it can have a nice showing. So that's
amazing.
What she's been doing, and it's the first thing, in a long time. She's had little things through this pandemic, but it's been tough. It's been really hard on all of Broadway people. And then I have another daughter who's in teaching. She teaches art to little kids in Baltimore, kids who have some developmental challenges.
Wow.
So she's in the city.
Rock stars, all of them. That's amazing. That's really, really great. Well, Stephen, hey, man, it's really good to see you and hear from you and talk to you, man. Thanks for joining us.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Anytime, guys.
Yeah. Thank you.
Nice to see you, Stephen.
Yeah.
Okay.
Take care.
Take care.